Hello everyone. Alright, I'm gonna show you around a little bit my latest project, which is a sidecar that is going to be in the same family as the trike 101 1.0 similar scale. It is sharing all the parts from it as well, and from the rest of the 112 and 110 SDR family of products. Don't mind those C-hubs. This is the original 3D printed ABS C-hubs that I have on file. I just didn't need to add the aluminum one on the prototype here on the CAD. And something is happening. Okay. So don't mind those. Of course, you'll see in the video I'm going to show you the prototype right after that, when you will be able to see the actual prototype I've built today. So it is comprised of a main chassis plate, a bumper plate, and a pivot plate for the motor mount, which is the aluminum pods, and then a solid axle at the rear over there, which is just going to be locked on the side. There is no tire over here, so it's an inline front and rear tires here and over here. This one, the offset is actually not right. The wheel offset is going to be in line with the pod over there, and this is going to be in line with the rear tires together. So this is just really for the sake of mock-up. And over here you can see what's in green. Even though it's going to move a little bit roughly, this is where the super shorty is going to be placed. Here is going to be the servo, which is the same servo mount that I have on the trike, which is simply two poles, a bar on the top squeezing it, double-sided tape at the bottom, which allows to use a 110, 112, any type of servo. You can mount them at any angle you desire as well. There is here the mount that I originally made for the pivot point for the link system for the steering, but you'll see on the prototype it's moved a little bit. So this is going to have to be moved before the CAD is processed to cutting. I don't have the upper plate, but of course there is an upper plate to stiffen the top of the rear pods. Let me show you quickly a little bit of the body that I have over here, and let's make it more visible. Okay, like that. And the rear. So this is a rough look at what the body looks like. Let me get rid of those guys over here so you'll be a bit more readable. So this is the sidecar. It is unlike, of course, the trike, which is two-wheel drive. This is a proper bike with a sidecar on the side. This over at the back is where the passenger is going to be. I'll show you just in a second what the passenger is going to look like. The front driver is going to be the same model as the driver I have on the B2B. You can see from the sides, this is going to be where the wheel wells is cutting out, so the rear wheel is going to appear at the back. There's going to be an air intake right behind the driver over there. The front wheel is going to be completely locked inside the body of the bike, and then the sidecar here is going to have a little wheel wells on the side over there, and then the pod is going to be covered. And so let me see. Yes, so here you go. I have the driver and what is going to be the passenger on the side. So the driver over here, it doesn't have its helmet. It is the same model that I've done for the B2B. You'll see it on the video later, with the helmet on top of it. This guy needs to be decapitated, so the helmet will be a separate part, and this is going to be molded together with the back part over there. So the body is going to be basically a two-piece body with this at the back that is going to stick to the main body, and then this part in the front. And so that is going to be pretty much the look that the sidecar is going to have, which is really cool. I think it's very realistic. It's going to be similar scale, same scale than the B2B, so they're going to be really good together on the track. And now let's move on to me showing you the first prototype that I worked on. Okay, so let's now take a look at the little prototype that I've built today for the sidecar. So I didn't do the bumper, I just saved some graphite. I'm not really going to need the bumper until I work on the body mold, so that's not really important. So I have the main chassis plate, bumperless, and I have the pod over there. I have a mistake here, so don't look at this. And here you go. So how is this going? There is, of course, my SDR aluminum pod at the back that is mounted upside down in order to have a bit more ground clearance over there, because of course the pod plate is above the chassis plate, so it would make the car really low putting it the other way around. So of course, this one being completely symmetrical, the pod is reversible, so that's not a problem. This is a Rush solid axle that I'm using at the moment. Once I have everything settled and good, I will get rid of the excess carbon over there. I might change as well this to another locking system in order to have something smaller than this other wheel hub over there, but that's what I have at the moment. I have a standard silver can from Tamiya. I have a little aluminum radiator on it. Then, okay, for the passenger wheel, of course, I have one C-hub over there. I have locked the direction of the wheel. It's a gold spring on the inside. Of course, the camber, everything, not the camber, the toe, I'm gonna have to test it out. I have a pretty severe toe at the moment, which is what I have on my Hunter system. We'll see how I set it up. The front, of course, same C-hub, slightly lower in the front than at the rear, with the same system I have on the B2B, of course, on the trike, and same servo mount that I have on the trike as well. So this, of course, can put any size servo in there. And then at the rear, I got my 112 tire. And so let me show you how the rear pod is mounted. So it is mounted on those two mounting points here. And there is an O-ring squeezed between the two plates and the nuts over there. So that can be more or less tight, which allows these to swing up and down. And then I have a spring right over there behind, so I can change, of course, the spring type, the spring rate, and then I can make it more or less stiff by tightening up the lock nuts on top of it. So this is the system that I took from my Hunter system rear pod, which I'll show you a comparison in a bit. And yeah, so it's running a super shorty lipo. I've checked the weight balance. Basically, most of the center of weight is on the passenger wheel for this axle, and over here is pretty much perfectly centered. So the weight distribution, I think, is going to be pretty good for grip as well as handling. And the dimensions, well, let me show you, of course, the trike 101 that you guys know with the B2B body. So this is, of course, another type of sidecar, but this is a two-wheel drive sidecar like the Proto B2B that was made for a year, as opposed to this, which is a proper bike setup with a sidecar on the side. So it's a one-wheel drive and the wheels in line. This is two-wheel drive and the front wheel is in the center. So you can see the wheelbase is the same as the trike. The width, of course, I'm stopping at the pods over there, so I'm really much narrower. I'm basically removing the side wheel. That's how wide it is, but the length and everything is the same. The size of the driver is going to be the same, so it's going to be in 1/10 scale, both of them. So that's going to be really cool to be able to drive them together on the track. That's gonna work pretty well. And well, for the handling, now time is going to tell how it works. Of course, the trike handles super well, but it's a two-wheel drive, so you could argue that it is not a proper sidecar at all, which is probably why that type of sidecar was actually banned from the actual proto race when it was launched as a real sidecar and I think it ran only for a year before they banned this type of prototype. So here you go. This is what I have. So you can see that it's using pretty much all my parts from the trike, the F1, the everything, which is really cool to have a family of parts like that can be used and reused to prototype a lot of things. Once I have everything tested out and if it runs as I hope it's going to run, I will probably make a run of FRP, and it's going to be a one piece with the bumper designed around that. That's going to help as well protect the front, the nose of the body, the nose of the bike side of the trike. And so let me show you where this design originally comes from. So this is my Hunter system, which I would call a 1/8 size, just by the scale of the driver and the passenger. It is an ABS body. It is old, out of print model that I have rebuilt. So the original parts on it would be basically only the pods at the back over there and the spur gear and axle basically. But I've redesigned everything the way it was. I just made it out of graphite instead of the weird material that it came up with, and then I have made my own shorty lipo battery tray that is simply taped to the chassis, so I can play around with placing the weight in different places. This is the last iteration that I've had with it. Other than that, everything is where it was originally. I have my original ABS C-hub, because the C-hub that they had was just some kind of a plastic cut. It was just not good at all. So it is this C-hub is very similar. The wheel placement is similar. I have replaced a similar plastic part that was a plastic cut, looked like a hand cut plastic part by my own, and I've changed the actual way the rear suspension worked. There is an old video on that on my channel. You can go have a look. It's probably in the RC collection playlist. And so you can see what I was talking about for the rear pods on the Team Hunter. The pod is mounted with those two screws over there, an O-ring underneath here, then you have the locking nut over there, and so this can swing up and down along these pivot points over there, and there is a spring over here at the rear, and so it tends to mostly push on this side. It is not very balanced the way this works on the track. And the issue that I have with this trike is that it is really good at turning in one direction, and the other direction it just wants to spin all the time. And it is really, really hard to put down the power and go in a straight line with it. And I've really tried a lot of different setups. You can see I've tried moving the steering into different positions. The original setup of the car was that this entire axle was going up and down, and so that changed completely the camber of the passenger tires all the time. So I've replaced it by something like the C-hub, so it's simply up and down movements, although I have kept the original pivot point, so I've been able to test a little bit of both together or one or the other. It seems like the up and down motion is what works the best. And for weight distribution, it's just been really difficult because it's a pretty large platform. It is pretty empty. And I'm just not sure about the whole geometry of the car. I've played with the Mardave version, which seems to be quicker but tends to lift the leg a lot in the corner, because I think the old chassis is much too stiff. It doesn't have any suspension at the rear. It might have a spring in the front, I don't remember, but the entire chassis is a one piece, and it tends to really lift a lot in the corners. So I still think that this is a more interesting platform to start from, but the Hunter system itself I don't think is that good. So you can see now the comparison between the two. The size is a lot smaller we have pretty much half a tire less in wheelbase. This is roughly 204 wheelbase, and now you can see the difference that I have the weights that's really balanced between the motor and the battery, and so I'm hoping that this is going to balance the weights between the two rear tires, especially in cornering to the right side, as opposed to here where I really have all of the weight on the traction wheel and pretty much nothing over there, and it seems to be the right turns when the car tends to slide quite a bit. And I think as well that the chassis might be acting up and catching on the ground, so now that I have a much narrower chassis footprint, I think it's going to be better. So the only thing that is going to tell how it works is testing. So hopefully it's not going to rain tomorrow. It was raining a bit in the afternoon today, so if it's dry weather tomorrow, I will bring this out to do a couple of battery packs. I'll bring a couple of different springs with me for both the rear, the passenger, and the front, and we'll see how it goes. So on that note, hope you guys enjoy this little thing, and I'll give you more update as soon as this testing is complete. Alright, stay safe everyone, see you, bye bye.